And we are back for another coding session today. 1 hour of coding starts right now. So if you're working on your assignment or on your project, or heck, if you're just writing, just perhaps put me on mute, put me to the side, and let's start working on this, on whatever it is together for the next hour. So if you're wondering what it is that you're looking at, here I'm just working on my final project for CS50. And so in a nutshell, CS50 is Harvard's Introduction to Computer Science. They have a main course, and then once you finish this main course, you can go ahead and take any of these follow-up courses. So they have a whole bunch of other courses here. I'm working right now on this one, CS50w, which goes a lot deeper into JavaScript, mainly with React, and also with a more robust Python framework called Django. So I am up to the final project here for this course, and that's what I'm working on right now. So the idea here is to create an app which is made out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other apps. So really, I would call my main window here, this main window called teleport, I will call that the project, and this project includes 5 smaller apps. This is in theory how you do things in Django. So we're working on this feedback app, and I'm going to go ahead and log in right now. That is test, I think we had test 2 last time. And let's click on feedback, and you'll see here basically what this does is it allows users to submit suggestions of features they would like me to develop further for the teleport app. And so let's add some feedback, and let's say I want to suggest a button, just making something up. I suggest a feature, and you'll see that the one that I suggested is at the top. I'm not able to upvote it. Makes sense. And I can just delete the one that I made, and it goes back. And all of this stuff is reloading automatically. Right now, if you have multiple users, they would have to reload the page in order to see updates. But that's something that we can improve in the future, and that is something that will require something called web sockets, which is not something the course covers. It's something that I could probably figure out on my own, using just documentation and maybe importing a Python library into the server here. But it's something that I'm going to leave for later. And my thought behind all this is that I like to perhaps develop a minimum version of this app and then publish it, and if it gets users, if it has good traction, if it starts to make maybe even a little bit of money, I'll go ahead and develop it further. But for now, I'm just developing the minimum that I need in order to just submit it as a homework assignment. So really, I guess it would be a win-win. On the one hand, I'm trying to submit it as a homework, and on the other hand, I'm building it in a way that hopefully I could as well publish it onto AWS and get users and whatnot. So that would be an added bonus if I can get people to sign up. So what we're gonna work today is that basically I have designed what the app should look like. Even before I start coding, I already have here what the app should look like. The reason for that is that I know what to work on exactly, and I don't have to come up with it on the go. I know exactly what I need to code, and as long as I stick to my original plan, I'm not going to be coding unnecessary things, and I'll be within the requirements for submitting the homework. So basically all this is done. It doesn't look exactly the same because I'm running Bootstrap over here and the CSS for that, and I used a thumbs up here instead of using this little arrow. Whatever, it's gonna look slightly different, but the concept is exactly the same. I mean, I am definitely still just developing what I drew here, and the idea is that all this stuff is working here. The only thing I'm missing here for my feedback app is this comment section here. So the way I'm envisioning it is, actually I'm just gonna add it here. Yeah, I guess the way I'm envisioning it is that, okay, if a user clicks on this little, comment bubble over here, it'll kind of display all the comments as well as a form for them to be able to comment on that particular post. So I guess this first step here would be to look at the previous homework. We've already done something similar. So this will be like a post feed within a post. That's basically what we're looking at. So let's go take a look at our code here. And I'm running VS Code here. I'm actually running the, this is like a virtual VS Code that CS50 gives you for free and free access, and you can access it from any computer. So in that regard, you don't even need to have your own computer, and technically you can just go to any library, or you can go borrow a computer and just log into your GitHub account and start coding on the browser itself. Here I'm running like the code app directly on the Mac, but you can just do it on a web browser. It's the same thing. So what do we got here? Let's take a look first at how we can now add, let's see, how we can now add this section here. So I guess if we want to break it down into smaller chunks, the way to do this, and I think that's basically what the course is teaching you along the way, is like you have this massive, like we have here really a massive dev project. We're trying to build this relatively massive app. I mean, it's massive for me because I'm developing it by myself. And if you've been following along the live streams, we're already up to live stream, I don't even know, like live stream 20, something like that. So we've already been working on this for 20 hours, 22 hours. And we still only haven't even finished the first out of the 5 total apps that are going to be part of this major project here. And this is what I'm turning in as a homework. And part of the requirement of the homework is that the final project has to be more complicated than any of the homeworks by themselves. So the previous homework that we did, which was a clone of Facebook, it took us over a month to complete it. And that was a very intense homework. And it was, I guess, in a way similar to this, how you have your cards and you can post cards and like them and whatnot. It's slightly similar. Imagine this is basically 5 times more complicated than any of the one homework. So I think we well within what we need to, where we need to be in order to submit it. But basically, what they teach you in the course is to simplify. Simplify, simplify. So we have this massive project. It's easy to lose track, become overwhelmed. Let's just focus on one thing. What I would like to do right now is I want to display the number of comments. In order to do that, I have to work on my server. In order to do that, I have to work on my JavaScript in the front end. So let's just do that first. Let's go ahead and figure out what Python code and JavaScript code do we need in order to make sure that whenever I display this page here, the feedbacks page, I can see how many comments each suggestion has. So let's go ahead and do that. The first thing that we're going to need is to take a look at our database. So in order to look at the database, Django allows you and gives you this amazing way of doing it, which is models. So instead of me having to go into SQL, and if you've ever done SQL, you know that it's all via the terminal, and it's a cool language. And Django, what it's doing, it's simplifying it. You can just write this Python code here, and this goes ahead and makes the SQL database for you. You can still go into the SQL database, you can still play around with it and debug and whatnot, but it really simplifies everything. So as you can see, I already have a class here called feedback comment. What Django does, after you run some commands on the terminal, what Django does is it'll take this class here and convert it into a SQL table. And the SQL table will have these columns here. It'll have a feedback, user, timestamp, and comment. And the contents of these columns, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be a feedback. It's going to be a one-to-one relationship with a feedback card. The user, the same thing, one-to-one relationship with one user, meaning that the feedback comment can only have one user associated to it and one feedback card associated to it. It'll have a timestamp, which, it'll just be an automatic thing just for me as a developer to keep track of things. And maybe I could use that data later on to run some analytics, maybe to run some AI and kind of optimize, my marketing for the app based on the times of the day, that sort of thing. And comment would just be a text field. That's what the comment that's actually saved in that. So those are all going to be like columns in that table, and then each row becomes each object that a user saves in there, and you'll see that in a second. One column that you didn't see here is the ID. So obviously each row would have its unique ID. That's actually something that Django puts in there automatically, so we don't have to specify. Automatically, we are already inheriting from this. I don't know what to call this. This is really a model that's built into Django. We're already inheriting from that, meaning that we already have access to the ID automatically. So since we already have this, let's go ahead and create some feedback comments that we can go ahead and use to somehow start displaying. Sorry, let me show you again. So we can go ahead and use to display the number of comments. So again, because we're going to be fetching into the database, we, as developers, we have to just throw in there, just put into that database already some values that we can just use the server to fetch and get some data back. Right now it's empty, so we have to, I guess, artificially put in there some comments, and we'll just make them up. So one cool way is you can do this thing here. It'll divide your terminal into two windows, and I always like to see where I am, so I click ls here, and it shows me that I'm in the correct folder. So what I want to run here is Python of manage py, and then we want to run shell, and this is going to give us the shell for our SQL database. And first thing I need to do is I need to import my I need to input my models. So from, and we are on this feedback app within Django, so I'm going to say from feedback, and so we're in the feedback app in the models page, so it will be feedback.models. We want to import, and I'm just going to go ahead and import everything that's in there. Okay, now the first thing I need to do is I need to get a user. So I think this user here that I'm using to run this here, test2, I believe he's user 1 or 2. Let's see. So let's just say user is equal to, and before we do this, we have to import the user model also. So from, and that would be users. It would be users. Actually, it'll be this line up here almost. It'll be identically this line here. So we'll do from users dot models import, and I just want to go ahead and import everything. Invalid syntax. Oh, sorry. 1 second. I wrote the wrong thing here. Yeah. And so user is equal to teleport user objects dot get, where the teleport users dot get, where the PK, the primary key, I think it was 1, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even 2, I'm not sure. Okay, teleport user dot get. Okay, and so we can say user dot username. It's test1. Okay, whatever. It's a different user than the one that we're logged in, but that's fine. And so now we have the user object. We need to get a post object. And so for that, I'm actually going to inspect here what it is that I'm loading here, because I don't remember. And in the console here, I am printing. I'm going to skip the explanation on that, but I am printing the array of objects that I'm eventually displaying here as cards. So therefore, I have access to this PK right here, and this PK right here is the ID of each of these cards. So I'm just going to randomly take this one here, the 19. Okay, so I can just going to go ahead and find that card in the database. So to do that, I would do feedback. I'm going to save it in the feedback variable here. Feedback is equal to feedback objects. If I could spell, 1 second. Feedback equals feedback dot objects dot get, and it's where the PK we said it was how much, I forgot already. Sorry about that. So inspect console. Let's see again. So it would be 19. Okay. So it would be PK of 19. Close, and let's see feedback. And we can just take a look at what this even has inside in there. So we could do feedback dot, let's say, title. and it's add feedback. Ah, so I actually, did I put in the wrong thing here? Let's see. No, I think I have a wrong one. Let me see, feedback active. So let's just say, let's just make it, let's just say, like, make this one active. So feedback.active equals true. And then we could see feedback active, and then we could do feedback.save. And you'll see that now it should show up in here as well. And you see we have it here. So this is the card that we're going to be tagging for now and use to develop this. So what we have done in this database here is basically we have selected this card. I've also selected the test1 user. It's not the one that I'm logged in, it's a different one, but it doesn't matter. So I have a user selected, I have a card selected, and now I'm ready to create a new comment for this card here. So let's do that. Add some good coffee here. Not the healthiest thing in the world, but it is what it is. Got some nice coffee from, I don't know, just like a regular branded whatever from, I think it's Italian, pretty good stuff. A little bit more expensive than the regular local stuff, but I think it's much better. Local stuff is Turkish coffee. It's very, I mean, it's good too. I don't know. I guess I switch between them depending on the mood. So again, we have all this stuff ready. So now we're ready to write a feedback comment. And again, this is just something that we're putting in there just to test out our, to use that to be able to test out our logic in the server. So the way to do that, very easy. You just grab this feedback comment. And so I'm going to save everything under this new variable called new comment. New comment is equal to feedback comment. And what fields do we have? We have feedback. So feedback, basically we would have to pass into here the object of the feedback card that we want to comment on. So the object would be, we already have it, we already took it, we have it saved right here. It's this feedback, we saved it under feedback here, I believe. Yeah, feedback equals whatever, the feedback object, so where the PK is 19. So we're going to pass this to here. So now we're telling, we want to make a new comment, we want to save in memory a new comment. And what is a new comment is basically a comment or a feedback comment object, and that object is storing, hey, this is the object of the feedback that you want to store. And now we have to save also the user. So the user is going to be equal to user because that's what we saved up here. User equals user. And if you guys have any comments, questions, you know, the chat is right there. I haven't heard from any of you in a while. I think last time people were commenting here was a couple days ago, and I feel like I'm talking to myself over here. Let me know if you guys are getting anything out of these videos. Like, otherwise, I'll focus on making other videos. Like, I have no intention of putting out videos that, you know, that are not useful to you. Although here I feel like really the use is also for me, which is me just learning publicly and sharing my experience. So, you know, this is realistic. This is very realistic. What to expect as somebody who's, you know, if you're just starting to learn how to code, this is what it's going to be like in a few years from now. If you stick 1 hour, 2 hours a day, you will make progress. And this is a very realistic video. I'm not telling you you're going to become rich. I'm not telling you you're going to, nothing. All I'm telling to you is if you show up 2 hours a day, you will make progress. And the reality is that this is what it is like to learn how to code on your own. It's kind of lonely, but, you know, if you really stay focused, you can make progress. I personally eventually got a job in tech. I'm looking forward to publishing this app. Maybe I can get some users also that could become a startup. I don't know. So that's sort of the next steps here. So we have comment, feedback, comment, but yeah, I have other videos coming out soon. Maybe I could even share what I do at work. I don't know. Over there, I have a lot of like confidential information, so I'm not sure. It's a lot of work to blur all that stuff out, and I have put out some videos on the channel about my actual work, but I've blurred out 90% of, you know, people's faces, and I beat a lot of audio that, you know, whatever. On the one hand, I don't want to ask for permission to publish the videos, and on the other hand, I want to publish without their permission. So it's a thin line that I'm walking between really sharing valuable things and valuable lessons that you could learn from, from what I can share from work, while not necessarily publishing exactly the details about work. Because it's not my details to share. If it was my own company, I mean, if let's say this is my own company, I'm happy to share the code with you. I don't care. Like, you go ahead and take the code, as my goal here is really to share. Like, you can sit and code and make progress. That's all. Actually, don't take my code. But okay, so we have the user equals user, and then the timestamp is automatic, so we don't have to fill it in. And then comment is going to be equal to a string, so we'll just put that in here. Hey, this is my first comment. Good job. Close, and then we save it, and then we can do new. So now it's a memory. Now we have to save it to the database. So we do new new comment is dot save, like that. Hit enter, and that's saved now. And I'm not going to prove it to you that it's saved, but take my word for it, it's saved in the database now. What we can do with this now is we can go ahead and fetch the comments. We can go ahead and fetch the comments. So I'm just thinking here out loud, 1 second. If it should just be part of the feedback engine. So this whole view here in our views file, all it does is load up all of these cards. So that's where all these cards are coming from. You can see we didn't break anything here. Everything is still working. So maybe when we are fetching all of these cards, it should already fetch all the comments as well. Or maybe not. I really don't know. Let me see. Okay, so because we set our goal today to just show the number of comments, if you remember, from our goal today is to be able to show here the number of comments each card has accurately, based on whatever's on the database. So the easiest way, I believe, would be right here. So you just go in here and add a field called comments, and the comments, it's going to be equal to feedback comments feedback comment dot objects, and I believe the syntax is dot count, or maybe count goes outside actually. Count, or maybe not. I would have to look this up in a second, but I think it's like this: count, where the feedback. So we want to find the feedback. I think feedback will be equals post. So each of these posts is each of the post objects, and we're passing that into this feedback to see how many feedback comment objects we have. Let's reload here and see if that actually works. And we forgot a comma here. Let's try again. That's the one thing I really like about Django. It just tells you almost immediately what's wrong with your code. As opposed to JavaScript, which you just have to figure it out. And we see it's not working. Okay, so its count goes at the end. So the count doesn't actually take this argument. it has to be filter dot count. I think that's what it is. Let's try again. And if we inspect it in the console here, we'll see that our array, let's just take 19 for example, you'll see that it has one comment right here. You see that? So it is loading it. It has one comment. And if we take a look at this one has 0, and this one also has a 0. So it's working. You see that? So we are loading the number of comments. And now we just want to display them. So I guess the easiest way would be to find that little icon. So I'm just going to find it here. It would be like a comment special. And if you guys know me, I absolutely do not like the whole graphic design part of this. It's very hard to find the specific icon and the specific thing. I really don't like the whole designing part of web development. I mean, I guess I could be good at it, but it takes so long to find the perfect little icon. It could take an hour. I mean, it's not good for people with ADHD or people who are perfectionists or OCD. It's really no good. Like I don't even know where I'm looking for. I guess I'm looking for emoji. Ah, okay. So comment emoji. That's what we're looking for. Yeah, this one. Let's just use this one. Copy. And then we could just paste that into here somewhere. So let's take a look at our index feedback. And I'm seeing some comments here about the job market. I'll answer in a minute. Just give me a second to paste this in here somewhere it belongs. So we have our whatever it was. It's the post feed. It's the use effect. Here it is. Here's all our cards. And so all right, so I'm seeing the upvoted by users. I'm wondering where that belongs to. Let's take a look here. So this upvoted by users, it goes over here. Okay, but this is only if someone is the owner of that post. Ideally, I guess I just want to display all this stuff at the very bottom. It would be a post. I'm just gonna try and putting it down here. So we'll make a div. And we'll put that little bubble there, and then we can just plug in post dot and whatever we named it over there. So that's post dot comments. Post dot comments. Let's see if it works. And then we also have to do, I think it's class name, and this is something I gotta work on later on. But class name would be text dark, I think. Let's see. Yeah, so you'll see that we've completed what we said we were going to do. And so here you can see very clearly that, we're displaying like the number of comments that each of these cards has accurately. Yeah, and this is the comment that we made before. It's not that I'm not writing a number 1 over here. You see, this is all being dynamically loaded from the server. All right, so let's take a look at questions here for a second. So I have Alex here who said he says just graduated my master's degree in computer science as of 4 days ago. That's very nice. Congratulations. I guess you finished in the winter. You graduated, one of those guys that graduated in the winter. So congratulations, master's degree in computer science. That's very good. He's super worried about the job market though. Who isn't, on the one hand? On the other hand, anything could happen. So maybe the time that you're spending worrying about it, maybe just get out there and do something about it. Like, you start your YouTube channel and code and work on projects, and that's what I'm doing. in my area, I've applied to a ton of jobs. I only heard back in, let's say, in how many. So when I first learned to code about 2 years ago, that I started applying for jobs, I would apply. I would say I would hear back from every 10 applications that I sent in. I would hear back from one of them. Now I haven't heard back from anybody in almost a year, and I'm still sending applications maybe once a week, one or two a week. Nothing too crazy. Even though I'm still fully, full-time employee and whatnot, I'm always looking for, to upgrade. Like it's a normal thing to want to upgrade, like, and to try to find the next better position. Nothing against my current job. I actually really like it, but I always want to get up. I want to move up. Um, and maybe work for a company a little bit more local. Um, so I really don't have any advice. I mean, you have a master's already. That's very impressive. There's a lot of good jobs that I've seen that, looking for masters. So I don't know. I would say maybe it's just a matter of getting out there and finding those jobs and applying, and maybe even academia, maybe at colleges. Look at college job boards. Maybe there are universities that are employing computer scientists. There's plenty of those jobs. I mean, I've seen them. University of Colorado in Denver, for example, I've seen. That's just one of many, many universities that have job boards on their website. You can even find those. And if you're in the States, I mean, I don't see how that's going to be too hard for you. I wouldn't sit around, though. That's the worst thing you can do. You've already spent probably a lot of money and a lot of time getting your master's degree. You got to make the best out of it, man. But I think you're in a good position. Don't get too down. And again, I don't think developer jobs are not the only jobs out there. There's also other things. IT. That's what I do. IT. And the fact that I know how to code at this level puts me I mean, I'm in a totally different level than everyone else in the office, because it's an IT company I work for. And so whenever they need something to be coded up, they come to me, and they're always extremely impressed, because obviously it doesn't compare, like, they have zero coding skills. So that's very helpful. I think that's part of the reason why um, I got the job, even though my IT experience wasn't that good. But they were looking for someone who was a little bit more balanced towards the data and coding. But and even then, I learned a lot of IT stuff. I'm taking courses on IT. I'm trying to balance it out. So I think that could be a nice leveling area where you can get into. Um, so that has been my strategy, so to speak. I'm still coding every day, but as you can see, I'm coding my own projects. Not I don't code so much at work, but I've tried to level, like, to have a lot of IT knowledge as well. That way, I'm not just about coding and just about web developing or app development or anything like that, which is very saturated. I can do also IT. I can kind of blend. I feel like there's a lot of room to grow in IT as someone who knows how to code. So that's my 2 cents. It's also DevOps. There's plenty of jobs out there. I don't know. I agree with you that straight up web development or web app development is very saturated, but that's not the only field. There's plenty of fields. All right, so this is so that was Alex, and then Code with Jonathan. I saw in USA it's really hard to find a good software engineer job. So again, just follow what I'm saying. One last thing about software engineering in America, what's going on right now, and I've noticed this at work, is that there seems to be like a transition between the previous generation and the millennial generation in the workforce. There's a lot of people our parents' age which are retiring now, and there's a lot of people our age sort of taking over those companies. And what's going on, and I've really noticed this, is that a lot of these companies are still running on very old technology. Like, there's a lot of part of what we do at work is to upgrade their technologies, and they do charge a lot of money for that. Um, so look into that maybe. You can always make simple software for these companies that just need a very specific task automated. Like a piece of software that I work for my company, which is to literally just take addresses and standardize them. And why do they need that? Because they were trying to move on to Salesforce, and in order to input all of their customer data into Salesforce, they needed they literally had different addresses for the customers based on emails, based on spreadsheets, based on just random paperwork lying around that they imported. And so, as you know, in America, like in America, sometimes you could spell someone's address as street, or you could spell it as st period, or boulevard. You could spell it as blv. It goes on and on and on. I think if you look at the U.S. Postal Service, they have a website about this. There's literally like 300 different abbreviations for things, and so it was very very difficult to merge all this data if you're keeping it in different places with slightly different addresses or ways that you spell the address. And so I wrote a script to standardize all those addresses, and I mean it was crazy. It like saved them weeks of work because instead of having to do that manually, which they were doing manually, when before they asked me to, they literally had someone who was like a secretary. They told her whenever you're not taking phone calls, whenever you're not with a customer, you need to be on this spreadsheet, like standard, manually merging all these addresses. And I just went in and I did it literally in 4 hours. It took me like 2 days to write the script, and then to run the actual script using I used a API from one of these AI models. It took 4 hours to run through all the database. So that's kind of opened my eyes. Like, wow, there's a lot of businesses in the States that are running on literally 30-year-old systems, and right now they're looking to upgrade. So there might be a lot of opportunity there. I personally just don't know exactly how to get more of those gigs, but I don't know. Those are my 2 cents. With a okay, let's see, code with Jonathan, but with a awesome portfolio, you'll be able to do it. Just have to be better than average. I guess I agree, and better than average, in my opinion, does not mean solving leak code problems. It doesn't mean coming up with the cleanest code. I think it just means customer experience. And customer experience could be your boss. Your boss is definitely your main customer in that. Like if you work for a salary. And so I also feel like that's one way to differentiate yourself from everyone else. Like it's not the same thing to hire someone who's very good at coding that you can't talk to, and that who just has bad communication skills, and someone who will just get the job done, but is amazing to work with, and it's someone who has a positive attitude. It's someone that makes you feel better after the transaction. That sort of thing is something that, in a way, you could learn, but a lot of that has to do with like who you are as a person deep down. Some would even say you're born like that, but I think it's something like if you work on your character and you have good character, and that comes off in your work, I think you'll have work. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's get back into coding, I guess. I'm just reading through some of the comments. So Alex here is saying also what projects to code. I'll tell you what projects to code, and I think in that you continue asking like, what about people? It doesn't mean that you don't have a passion, etc. One thing is not everything is about passion. There's some things that you know that you need to do, and you do them, and you get through it. But I think the fact that you're watching this video right now means that somehow deep inside you feel like coding is your path, like in life in a way, your career path. I mean, it sounds like you already have a master's degree. So did you get that master's degree because that's what you enjoy learning in school, or did you get that master's degree because your parents made you? It's a question. But if you did it because it's the career that, you didn't go into architecture, let's say, or you didn't go into hairstyling, right? It's a very different career path because you don't like hairstyling, you like coding. So stick with it. And in terms of what to build and what type of projects to work on, I would say do what I'm doing, which is I have a very specific problem, which I guess you'll eventually see what it is I'm building here. I have a very specific problem, or again, long story short, I know of a group of people that they have multiple daily meetings, right? And right now, there's someone who is manually, by hand, literally, she has to sit in the computer and every day do certain tasks related to these meetings. She has to do them all by hand, even though all this stuff is you could easily automate this And that's what the purpose of this app is. So if I manage to get this app up and running, I'm definitely going to sign her up as my first user, real world user. So that's what I would recommend. Try to think about in your life what problems may scratch your own itch. Like, do you have a problem that some task that you're doing repetitively by hand? That is something which CS50 even talks about it. That is a perfect way to automate something. Or take what I spoke about before, that there are all these companies there's plenty of opportunity out there. Maybe just get out there. I don't know where you live, but let's just assume that you live in Atlanta, yeah? Just in a suburb in Atlanta. Most suburbs in the States have a technology park. They have these random office buildings full of offices. Some of these buildings have medium-sized businesses, like the ones that take up the entire floor or maybe take up 2 floors. Just reach out to them, see if there's any help that they need, Start with that. There's another piece of software that I'm going to be building after this. It's similar to a CRM, which I'm building it specifically for the job that I'm working on. Like, I'm trying to automate my own job basically. If I manage to pull that off, it's totally something I could sell to all the companies in that industry. So there's things like that. It's not even thinking outside of the box. It's literally might just be even right in front of you. See what tasks you can automate for people and start with that, or even for yourself. There might be a lot of room and if you want to narrow it down even more, think about what, like, coding plugins. Like, what type of plugin can you code to link 2 applications? Let's say you want to link QuickBooks to Zoho. I don't know. That's just a very general example. What link can you make between 2 applications and sell that to people? That's also an option. And even before you code it, you can just try everything out on Zapier and see if people will go for it. And if they go for it, then you can code it up on your own. That's also an option. I mean, there's many things you could do, really. Yeah, Jonathan. So I don't know. Maybe look into it. I don't know. I would say don't code all day. Just do 1 hour a day, like I'm doing here. I'm gonna, when I finish the live stream, I'm not gonna see this code until tomorrow again. So that's one way of just saying, I'm gonna be serious about coding for 1 hour. Maybe live stream it also. Maybe go on, just live stream your session as well, and code for 1 hour and stick with that every day, every day. I don't see how you're not gonna get anywhere with it. Like, it's better than just sitting around wasting time on social media. Like, and at least you're staying fresh with the code. If you don't code for a couple weeks, a couple months, it becomes difficult afterwards. You can start forgetting things. All right, so where were we? So I guess here we basically, managed to show that we are showing that in there. Now, the only thing I would say about that is that I could have some padding. I don't care, whatever. Just, it doesn't look exactly how we had it on our Figma here. You see, it looks a little bit different. But that's probably okay, right? That's not a big deal. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to convert this into a button. What do I mean? When I click on here, I want to expand that and show the actual comments. Simple enough, right? So basically what would happen here is when I click this button, it'll send a request to the server to get those comments and display them here. You know what, Jonathan? I'm just thinking out loud here. Would you want to do a little, would you want to do an interview maybe on this channel? Let me see. I think I have my email. Maybe shoot me an email. Here, I'll put my email down in the chat here. Let's do like a. You want to just do like a 1 hour podcast or interview, and maybe we'll go over your particular case. Let's see here. I think it's very interesting because you do have a master's in computer science, which is something that I'm potentially aiming towards. Um, but I don't know. I think a lot of people could learn from your particular case, and maybe I can, share the insight. Um, let's see if I can find. Hold on, studio. See if I can find my own email. I do have an email just for this channel, which makes it easier to keep track of things. Let's see here. Hold on. Yeah, I put my email down here. If you just want to do a video together, let me know. Whatever I can help you with. Let's see. You say do you have subscribers on your channel? Dude, just start streaming every day, man. Just do it. Ah, you're from Greece. Okay. Dude, just start today. After this, just start today. Just get on your computer, put on VS Code. I would stay away from coding random projects though. Like, try to really think, maybe take a day to think about something specific that you have a problem with and try to code that. And Lang King. Hey, he just started getting into web development. He finished his first e-commerce website. And he's not in college. And can he start applying for good companies for interns? Ooh, that's a tricky question. Depends which company, what internship. I doubt that you can get into IBM, but maybe you can get into a medium or smaller company. Maybe even especially if you're willing to work for cheap. You're young, so maybe you could afford to work for cheap, and you also don't have the bachelor's, master's, whatever. So it could be. And yeah. All right, so we're gonna have to go ahead and fetch from the server whenever we click on this button here to see the new comment. You click on it. I wonder if it's probably a good user experience practice to let people know what it is that they're clicking for. I learned that from, I forgot the guy's name. Isaac Radowski. Look him up. He's like Google AdWords expert. And oh, here's an interesting email I just got. Here's a very interesting email I just got. So I hope you guys could see this. Look, this is a job board that I'm subscribed to on. It's called Secret Tel Aviv. It's like a local job board, and there's where I live. There's one for each major city. So there's one for Jerusalem, and there's another one. There might even be one for Beersheba, which is a big tech hub, or they're turning it into a big tech hub right now. You'll take a look here. All the current job openings. I would say this is a very famous job board. So I would say out of the major companies in Tel Aviv, which if you guys know a little bit about the Tel Aviv tech scene, it's massive. I would say one of Israel's main exports is tech, along with diamonds. And I think also like industrial equipment. Those are like the three main exports of Israel, and religion. Um, but you'll take a look here, you get an idea of what it is the market is doing right now. So there's a lot of back end jobs. I think a lot of senior stuff. So if um, you're just getting started, I don't know how easy or hard it is to get a senior job. I mean, if you have a master's degree, maybe it's easier. But there's a lot of stuff here. I get an email like this every other day, and these um, back end, these might just be the new ones for today. So there really is a lot of demand. Kaltura, Monday.com, Salesforce developer, IT security specialist. By the way, these are all like within the computer science. Sometimes they post also like just Q&A or IT support, but these are really straight up like computer science jobs. Salesforce implementer, Java backend developer. Very specific things. I don't know, like backend ser- back. I mean, this. Let's see, backend developer. This is just a very random one here. This is the website if you want to take a look. Secret Tel Aviv. So they're looking for someone with experience, 3 years. I don't know if again a master's is enough. They have a stack here: Scala, TypeScript, Ruby. I don't know what half of these things are. Grafana, Redis, Airflow. I have no idea what that is. They're looking for someone that has bachelor's in computer science or military certification. So if you work at like military intelligence, that's already pretty good. It's probably similar to having a degree in computer science. And that's it. They have a lot of stuff here. You'll see they have a ton of jobs. I don't know how many of these are like remote jobs. Like if you're outside of Israel, you can apply for these. I don't know, but I am assuming that the same way there's a job board like this for Tel Aviv, there's one for Houston, and there's one for New York, there's one for every major city in the world. Like I don't see how this is unique to here. And if you're in the States, I'm sure, wow, there's so much. Like there's probably so many of these boards in the States. Okay, so back to coding. Talk about getting distracted here. Back to coding. Before we get back into coding, just to answer the question about the e-commerce thing, I don't know where that even goes. I don't have that. I don't have. I made one e-commerce website one time. It was a total flop. I did it for a family member who was trying to move a business from like a physical business to to be a little bit more mobile and to do things a little bit more remote and to do online consulting and then sell some products online. I believe the business broke even in the end, so whatever I charged for the development is however much the business made. Maybe the business made a little bit more, but it wasn't really like nobody got rich off of it. Nobody made. I don't think anybody's even able to make a full-time living off of it. It was just more of a hobby project. So I really don't have much experience with e-commerce. I don't necessarily believe in it too much. I think that Amazon is killing it, and I think that selling on Amazon was a very hot thing 10 years ago. That's when it was easy to get in. Right now, it's very hard to get into it. It's very expensive. It takes a long time. And people who are well established, I mean, I heard of people selling their Amazon page. They're just one product page on Amazon goes for about a successful one could sell easily for $150,000, and that was already a few years ago. So e-commerce, people do drop shipping nowadays, and okay, maybe if you're really good at marketing, I don't know. Not for me. I met a guy one time. Maybe I'll interview him for the channel. Maybe he'll want to be on the channel. We'll see. He's local, and he was selling cosmetic products online. I think he managed to find a very specific niche where he was just drop shipping all this stuff. And he told me that he didn't tell me any numbers of how much he was making, but he said that he had an established company. Like, there's when you work for yourself, there's like different levels in the government of like, are you like independent but exempt from paying taxes? Are you independent but incorporated? I think he was already incorporated, so it's like he has to make a minimum certain amount of money. And he said also that he was paid himself a salary, his wife a salary. He paid for his insurance. He paid for everything. So it seemed like he was successful enough to make it. But I've also met people that have lost $80,000 on drop shipping. So take it for what it is. Right. So going back to the coding, this here I wanted to turn it into a button. And in order to turn it into a button, I think we're just going to turn that into a component. In order to turn that into a component, we have to define a component. So let's start with that. And why reinvent the wheel? Where I've already coded a couple of components here, and we've just reused many of them. Namely, we have this post like button here, which is inside the feed, and I think that would be a perfect thing to copy here. I'm just gonna copy the entire thing up until, so we have delete post button and we have like post. So just this one, we're gonna copy paste it down here, right before our use effect. That way our use effect can use it. Okay. Also, LangKing is using Next.js. How's that going for you? I've heard that's the new thing that's the new thing on the street, but I have zero experience with it, and I'm a little bit skeptical. I wanted to learn it, but then I told a good friend that I was doing this live stream and I was coding up my own app and whatnot, and he told me, and I asked him, should I learn Next.js? And by the way, this guy works at a big company, big cybersecurity company. I believe he works mainly in .NET, so that's C# and this whole Microsoft stack. And he told me it doesn't really matter. He said just code in whatever you code your app in whatever you know. It doesn't really make a difference. So let me know how Next.js is going for you. Is it really that much faster than coding in Django? I heard it's good for SEO. So, but I might just use a plugin here on my Django eventually for my marketing pages that'll optimize SEO. So I don't really see if it makes that big of a difference to just from the beginning coding Next.js just because all the pages load directly instead of dynamically and whatever. So it's better for SEO. Okay, so we're gonna define out this button here, and we're gonna call this I don't know, we should call it comments feed. We might even need a use effect in here. But before we even get into this thing here, we're going to call it comments feed. And I want to go ahead already and plug it into my return for the use feed, for the use effect. So that's down here. So I want to replace whatever I had down here. So I want to replace this with a return statement. I'm gonna copy this and actually plug it into the definition for the component. And okay, so I'm just realizing now that we've hit the hour of coding, and you're gonna get on with other things for today. But so what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop here, and we'll continue tomorrow. I wish you all the best, and I put my email in the comments over there. So if any of you are interested, and I think I'm specifically talking to Code with Jonathan. If you want to just do a quick video together, shoot me a quick email, and we'll set up a time. And until the next live stream, enjoy your coding, stay positive, and thank you for joining. See you in the next stream.